Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm Bill Tucker filling in for the vacationing Steve Malzberg. Before we welcome in my next guest, John Zogby, my Newsmax TV colleague Miranda Kahn joins us with the latest polls in the presidential race. Miranda.
Thanks, Bill. Hillary Clinton's narrow lead over Donald Trump appears to be shrinking even more.
From the start, Donald Trump has built his campaign on prejudice and paranoia.
Clinton has been hammering Trump over the past week, with each accusing the other of being racist, but the strategy isn't garnering any new votes for Clinton. She's down 2 points from last week. According to the latest NBC News survey monkey poll, Clinton's lead over Donald Trump is now, take a look, only 6 points, 48 to 42%. Clinton's lead shrinks even more, down to only 4 points when you add in third-party candidates former Governor Gary Johnson and Dr. Jill Stein.
Do they think we should just have the same two? You know, they're screaming no.
People don't realize that there is another choice.
Neither third-party candidate has been able to make inroads with the voter population as a whole, though. Donald Trump does appear, though, to be making headway with independents. Last week, Clinton had a large 10-point lead over Donald Trump, beating him 42 to 32%. But this week, Trump gained 6 points on Clinton. She's only ahead of him now by 4 points, 37 to 33%.
I don't care about the Republican Party or the Democratic one, to be honest with you, but Trump 100%.
The NBC poll also shows registered voters are casting their ballots down their own party lines, meaning Trump or Clinton will need to win over independent voters to have a shot at the White House. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you so much, Miranda. We got a lot to get to that was in that package. Joining me now to do just that is John Zogby, senior partner, John Zogby Strategies, director at the Keenan Center for Entrepreneurship, and author of the book, We Are Many, We Are One, Neo-Tribes and Tribal Analytics in the 21st Century America. John, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
We're going to start with the skeptical Bill. Those polls are interesting. I see some movement. I see all of this stuff. But I also think, well, gosh, we're in August still. Is there any meaning that we can attach to anything that we're looking at in these polls right now?
Yeah, pure and simple, where we stand in August, not where we will be in November. It's like, you know, getting on a scale and measuring your weight. That's what you weigh today. You know what you got to weigh 3 months from now. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll meet your target. But it could tell you if you're on target to meet your target, if you're not.
Right.
So it's very useful.
So in other words, it is basically the old axiom that's on Wall Street, the trend is your friend. So if you're moving in the right direction, you've got momentum that way, it looks good for you. The other part of the skeptical Bill Tucker here is that I'm not so sure that people are being honest with pollsters. It's my sense, and some people I know, and this is purely anecdotal, so I really want your perspective on this, that people are afraid to say who they're going to vote for. They don't want to say they're going to vote for Trump when they maybe are, and they don't want to say they're going to vote for Hillary when they maybe are, because frankly, John, this is the worst group of presidential candidates I can recall in my lifetime.
Mine too. Okay, so look. First of all, liars vote. Why shouldn't they be sampled as well? So we do poll liars because they're out there. They're in our midst. By the same token, we honestly just don't have any evidence whatsoever. I do hear it anecdotally from time to time, that hidden Trump supporter afraid to say that he or she is for Trump. But normally what we do here is, well, you know, I don't know if I can vote for him, but he has a lot of good ideas. That rings some bells for me.
Yeah, but we also have a favorability issue here, don't we? You know, it's fascinating to me that neither one of these candidates, and forgive me, Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, but neither one of the two main candidates are people who enjoy a lot of trust or favorability with the voters.
They don't. We've never seen anything like this, certainly since the history of polling, you know, where you have substantial majorities that dislike and don't trust major party candidates. Some of that is attributable to the parties themselves. which are not popular among an angry group of voters, the Bernie Sanders supporters, the Trump supporters, and then also almost completely mistrusted by millennials. Those under 35 years of age have no use really for either party.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because we had a conversation with Frank Luntz, and he has just written a cover story for our Newsmax weekly or Newsmax monthly magazine, in which he does a lot of research and does a lot of study on millennials. And he says basically just that, John, that millennials are so angry, they don't trust either one of these parties, and they don't feel like really either are speaking to them in any kind of direct way. And he's concerned that maybe what we're looking at here is a complete shift in politics and sort of political reality, if you will.
We could very well be, because this is a very large group of people.
Right.
They cannot be sloughed off. But snapshot of millennials. They work in teams. They're social. They do social media. They live in a world of immediacy. Mm-hmm. There's a problem, you solve the problem. Get it done. Pure and simple. And they don't see that kind of activity from government. They don't see it from politics. I won't say they've given up entirely yet, but there's a whole lot of skepticism, and I would call it actually healthy skepticism.
Well, I am all in favor. You can put me squarely down in favor of people who are skeptical. I think that's great. But one of the trends that Luntz talks about is that we are looking at a group of millennials who do not choose capitalism over socialism. He sees a large socialist trend. And I don't know how that plays into the way you are looking at things in politics right now, but I find that extremely interesting, and it does explain the appeal of the old guy to the young people who are entering the workplace and the voting booths.
I'm going to amend that, because actually what I see is more a trend towards communitarianism versus libertarianism. I think that's the debate that millennials usher in, not the hard conservatism in its various forms versus the hard liberalism. In many ways, those are both gods that have failed as far as millennials can see. Socialism, possibly, but I don't know that that's what Bernie Sanders represented to them. I think Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump just represented to them people who are against the mainstream at a time that millennials don't like the mainstream.
Well, it didn't help Bernie. He had a really passionate, devoted following. Do you think somehow that's going to translate into support for Trump?
I don't know. I honestly don't. It's going to be hard for young people to vote for Trump. Remember, if you take a look at millennials in total, over 40% of them are non-white. And so that's a problem right there in terms of various statements that Donald Trump has made. I know he's making a pitch now among African-American voters and Latino voters and so on, but Muslim voters. But, the die may have been cast already.
Really? You don't think he can dig it? You think he's dug himself a hole too deep for himself to get out of at this point?
I'm not sure. And sorry about that, but remember the variables.
No, there's
here.
something refreshing, John, about somebody admitting they're not sure, where everybody wants to be so daggum certain all the time.
Well, thank you for that. But you got to look at the other side too and realize that Hillary Clinton is not turning millennials on either.
Right.
Not turning a lot of voters on, frankly.
Well, no. Look, it's an election where we have the senator from Nebraska, the junior senator from Nebraska, Sass, declaring both candidates dumpster fires. His words, I wish they were mine, but they're dumpster fires. So that's not a good statement of where we are right now.
Bill, we only have 328 million people in this country. Is this the best that we can do? That's a lot of people. A lot of people are asking that.
I know. It's really, really amazing. And I can't help but ask, you've got your book. Does any of what we're talking about reflect itself in your analytics and what you were looking at about the 21st century America?
Oh, absolutely. What you have basically are people who want problems to be resolved, and what they have seen is problems going unresolved. Meanwhile, and my book is about America's tribes. Several of these tribes actually talk about their day-to-day lives and how they are losing ground in many ways, how they're losing ground financially, how they fear dropping out of the middle class, or at least their children dropping out of the middle class. It's not a healthy situation.
No, it's not. Any sense from you and your research what they want done to rectify the problem?
Actually, it's more a process than anything else. They simply want something like the old days where someone comes in with a policy, there's an argument, and then a compromise over policy. But average voters talk to me about inflation. That's something nobody is talking about. Official records show, hey, everything is good inflation-wise, not for people who go to the supermarket.
Right. I was just going to say, clearly, those who think inflation is not a problem haven't been to the supermarket. John, thank you so much. Author of We Are Many, We Are One, Neo-Tribes and Tribal Analytics in the 21st Century America. Up next, more of the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go anywhere.